Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you like this episode, please remember to hit the like button and leave a comment or two, then subscribe and click on the bell to receive notifications of whenever we release new videos. Also, please remember to share them to your social media. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to the Catskill Mountains in east central New York State. The climate here is a warm summer, humid continental climate, which brings warm, humid summers and mild but very snowy winters. Catskill Park makes up the majority of what is considered the Catskills, with 700,000 acres of mountainous forests. Common trees here include balsam fir, 3 types of maple trees, a few oak species, and 3 types of birch trees. Along bodies of water you'll find several species of dogwood, willow, and alder bushes, as well as various berry bushes crowding the banks. They provide shade and shelter for white-tailed deer, squirrels, and wild turkeys. Predators prowl the shadows here and include bobcats, coyotes, cougars, and black bears. Nestled into this lush and bucolic environment is a resort town of Fallsburg. Dotted with bungalow and cabin developments, it is a preferred location for mountain biking, waterfront recreation, and getting away from the big city. Black bears are common visitors around the town, with the local police department receiving dozens of calls weekly from concerned citizens. In August, a black bear even leapt through a screen door after smelling the tempting scent of chocolate chip cookies the homeowner was cooking. They raid bird feeders and garbage cans, but most always disappear into the forest at the first sight of a human. Almost always. The Schwimmer family was visiting a bungalow in Fallsburg for the summer and lived in Williamsburg in Brooklyn. They were prominent members of the ultra-Orthodox Jewish community and known as wonderful and exceptional people there. There is no source indicating that the Schwimmers were packing bear spray or a firearm along with them on their vacation. Around 2 p.m. on August 19, 2002, Rachel was with her 2 older children, 4-year-old Joseph and 2.5-year-old Chaya, while 5-month-old Esther slept in her stroller on the porch a few yards away. Pincus was the proud father of the family and was busy taking care of a few things inside the house when a terrifying shout pierced his ears and changed his life forever. "Bear! Bear! Bear!" shouted one of the Schwimmers' neighbors. Rachel quickly glanced around and directed Joseph and Chaya into the house. She was in too much of a hurry to know that she was being followed very closely by a dangerous visitor. Rachel managed to get Joseph and Chaya inside before turning around to dash back to the porch to retrieve Esther within a few seconds. Upon returning to the porch, Rachel could see Esther's stroller had been tipped over, but Esther was nowhere to be found. While searching for her daughter, Rachel observed a black bear slowly walking away, with Esther dangling from its mouth like a little doll. That's when the rest of the community began to get involved in a big way. A small crowd of neighbors mustered the bravery to confront the black bear. They yelled and threw sticks and stones at the bear, trying to scare it into dropping baby Esther from its jaws. Pincus ran to cut the bear off from its intended retreat into the forest. He angled his way between the bear and the trees, and received a few claw wounds for his efforts. Trailing the bear, the angry and raucous mob continued to yell and throw things at it, until, in an open field midway between the woods and her family's cabin, baby Esther was recovered by her father. Now completely bewildered, the bear scampered up a tree for safety. Baby Esther was gathered up in the arms of her father and brought back to the cabin. A hysterical crowd of neighbors wept and lamented at the sight of baby Esther and her wounds. An ambulance showed up soon after a 911 call was placed. Esther was rushed to Ellenville Hospital, where she was pronounced dead by 3 p.m. from severe neck and head trauma. In keeping with traditions of their faith, a hurried funeral service was arranged in Orange County to bury Esther by sundown on the day of her death. This is the first bear attack many had heard of in decades-long careers. Officer David Decker searched the forest for a clue to the bear's location and discovered it in the trees. The bear wasn't afraid of his approach, but soon dashed back up a nearby tree. Decker stated he fired a single shot into the bear's rib cage, but the necropsy reported the bear's carcass having been shot 4 times, one of which was in the head. The community was overcome with sorrow, as the news of Esther's death permeated their hearts. Many packed up and left upon hearing the tragic news. Only 30 minutes after her attack, police reported a second sighting of a bear, but it couldn't be found by police who were already in the area. The necropsy on the black bear showed it to be a 3-year-old male weighing around 170 pounds. Testing for rabies and West Nile virus were negative, eliminating disease as a contributing factor to Esther's attack. The bear's stomach contents were analyzed and revealed small plastic bags and fruit labels mixed in with natural food sources, proving the bear had been raiding area garbage cans. Wildlife specialists initially claimed the bear may have grabbed the baby out of curiosity, more than out of predatory motives. They cited the idea that babies have scented powders and milk on their bodies and clothes. Additionally, they proposed the baby may have had some kind of attractant in her diaper. They tried to allay residents' fears of a repeat attack, but those same warnings would have been expected for Esther's attack. Esther Schwimmer was only the second person to have been killed by a black bear in any eastern U.S. forest in recorded history, and the first of this century. Esther was the 15th person killed by a black bear in the U.S. in 100 years. Wow, this episode tore me up. Having lost 2 children of my own, I can identify with the pain of Esther's parents and family. I'm sure they still think of her and remember her fondly. After reviewing the facts surrounding the fatal bear attack on Esther Schwimmer, I'm left with a few questions for you. Was the second bear that appeared on the scene the initial bear's littermate? Were they searching for food together and stumbled into this tragedy? Was this bear brought in by the scent of milk on the baby's clothes, or was this attack an opportunistic predatory attack? I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to Hickory Kingdom Road, near Bedford, New York, only about 40 miles north of Manhattan. The elevation here is a little over 475 feet high, not that it matters, because this area is part of a housing development in Westchester County. The climate here is a humid temperate climate, with warm, humid summers and cold, snowy winters. The forests here are thick with stands of oak, hickory, maple, and elm trees, with eastern white pines and hemlocks scattered throughout, most of them offering seasonal foods to animals. Common animals here include white-tailed deer, turkeys, and the occasional moose. The predators here include bobcats, coyotes, red foxes, and black bears. Wolves have moved back into parts of the state, and occasionally a mountain lion is spotted. The housing development along Hickory Kingdom Road is rural and in a heavily wooded area. The trees surround almost every house here, creating hidden corridors for wildlife to traverse. There are no grizzly bears in New York, but the black bears here are increasing in numbers and tolerance of people. Around 11 a.m. on August 22, 2023, a 7-year-old boy, whom we will refer to as Tim, was playing in the woods just behind his house with his little sister. Tim's mom, who was a doctor, and dad were occupied in the home while the kids played near their backyard. A neighbor, whom we will call Tom, was relaxing in his home when he heard some kids screaming from the property next door. It seemed more frantic than the screams normally made by playing children. After looking out of his window, he saw a black bear, pulled out his phone, and took a picture. Tom decided he would go check out what was going on after telling his wife to call 911. Having noticed the bear nearby, he hopped into his car instead of investigating on foot. As Tom drove the short distance to his neighbor's house, he could see a medium-sized black bear near his neighbor's swing set in their backyard. The neighbor kids were dodging the bear, using the swing set as a barricade. As Tom watched, he saw the kids run toward the house, with the bear in close pursuit. Having just missed catching the kids, the bear circled the home, pausing to peer in the windows. The bear ran around a hidden corner of the home, so Tom drove around on the access road to get a view from a different angle. He watched as the bear circled the home, looking into windows in its search for the kids. As Tim ran toward the back door of their home, their mother met them. She immediately started examining her son's wounds and bandaging them as the bear stared from a few yards away. It was only a few minutes before North Castle police officers, Banksville Fire Department, an animal control officer, and members of other services arrived on the scene. EMS treated Tim and prepped him for transport to the hospital, while officers approached the bear. The officers initially expected this juvenile bear to dash off into the trees upon sight of them, but this bear stood his ground. At one point, the young bear advanced aggressively toward the officers, creating a surprising standoff. Officers knew this behavior was way out of the norm for bears in the area. Their concern grew as the bear continued to chuff and stand up to 4 police officers at one time. An officer with a high-powered rifle was seen loading it and disappearing into the trees for about 10 minutes before a shot rang out. 1 minute later, a second shot was fired. 4 officers placed the bear's carcass into a black bag and carried it out in a large plastic bin. These officers were not small, and the fact it took 4 of them likely meant the bear weighed between 150 to 175 pounds. Not exactly a cub. The New York Department of Environmental Conservation took possession of the bear's carcass and conducted rabies tests on it. Their examination revealed the young male was healthy and did not have rabies. Given the bear was too young to have cubs and a male, its behavior could not have been attributed to protecting cubs. As for Tim and his sister, she was unharmed during the attack. Tim, however, was left with non-life-threatening injuries, which were cleaned and bandaged at North Westchester Hospital. Neighbor Tom was a bit shaken by this incident. He was new to the area and decided he would invest in bear spray and keep it clipped to his side whenever he was outside. Authorities pointed out that this kind of bear behavior is extremely rare, and websites point out that bears are omnivores that primarily eat nuts, fruits, insects, plants, and carrion, but fail to mention that they are actually opportunistic feeders. They consume anything that presents an opportunity for them, and few animals are off that list in certain circumstances. The state of New York is home to somewhere between 6,000 and 8,000 black bears, with 50 to 60% of them living in the Adirondacks, and 30 to 35% of them in the Catskills. In 2019, there were only 2 bear sightings, with 11 sightings in 2020. In 2021, bear sightings jumped to 16, and more than doubled the following year to 40 in 2023. New York State does have a bear hunting season each fall, so there is a management plan in place. After reviewing the details of this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Was this bear attack a predatory attack, or did the kids frighten the animal as they played in the woods? Was the bear curious when it peered into the windows of the home, or was it hunting the children? Why didn't the bear run away when 4 police officers appeared on the scene? The next time you send your kids or grandkids outside to play, will this episode cross your mind? I know it will cross mine. I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Welcome back to Scary Bear Attacks. Today's episode takes us to a private cabin about 4 miles southeast of Alpine, Arizona. At the city center, the elevation is 8,032 feet, but the top of Escudilla Mountain stretches to over 10,031 feet high. Alpine is surrounded by the White Mountains and is located in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest. The headwaters of the San Francisco River begin nearby, and this area is a great place for fishing, hunting, and camping in its meadows, streams, and forests. This area is dappled with pockets of ponderosa and pinyon pine, juniper, and quaking aspen, and higher elevations with bushes such as cliff rose and Arizona thistle blossoming among the wild grasses. Elk and deer wander the forests and meadows as they search for mates and iron out their pecking order for breeding season. Predators here are numerous and range in size from foxes and bobcats to coyotes, mountain lions, Mexican gray wolves, and black bears. Black bears are the only bear species in Arizona and can be found in a broad range of habitats due to their adaptability. They live in woodlands and deserts along riparian zones, as well as chaparral and forests. In habitats so varied, they can be expected to live in any location in the state of Arizona. On May 23, 2024, the Hawkins family was visiting their family cabin near Alpine. The property had 2 separate buildings on it and has been a peaceful retreat for the family for many years. Shane and Carol are the proud parents of 18-year-old Parker and 15-year-old Brigham. The family had enjoyed the day fishing, and after arriving at the cabin had split into different areas of the property to unwind in their own ways. Brigham had the urge to binge on his favorite YouTube videos and made his way to the second cabin, leaving his mother and father, as well as his brother, in the primary cabin. As he entered the cabin, he left the door open to allow the cool evening breeze to relieve the warmth of the day. Plopping himself down on the couch, he toggled through YouTube in search of his favorite Pokemon videos. As Brigham was immersed in the plot of the video, a very dangerous and stealthy visitor had found the open door to the cabin. The television Brigham was watching faced away from the door, allowing the bear to silently pad right up next to him without being noticed. A little information about Brigham is in order to understand his predicament. He's small for his age, due to a neurological issue that limits his movement. Brigham moves slowly and has a difficult time dealing with anything that requires him to use precise or rapid movements. With the bear now lurking mere inches from the back of Brigham's head, the young man had no idea of what was about to occur. There was no woofing or snapping of its jaws. Without warning, the bear swatted Brigham across the face from behind him, gashing his nose and bruising his head. Knocking the young man over, the bear began to attack the top of his head by biting and clawing at his scalp. Though taken completely by surprise, the pain the bear inflicted on Brigham brought a primal yell from his throat. He screamed in horror for help once he realized a bear had ambushed him on his own couch. Adjacent to the primary cabin, Parker was working in the garden when he heard his brother screaming for help. Shane and Carol were in the primary cabin and couldn't even hear the screams. Parker knew Brigham would only scream like that in a dire situation and sprinted to the secondary cabin to see what was going on. Once Parker entered, he glanced around the room to see what he thought was a funny-looking dog standing over his brother. Entering the room so abruptly, Parker immediately drew the focus of the bear from Brigham to himself. As he turned to run to the primary cabin, the bear dashed after him in pursuit of its newly found prey. As the angry bear gave chase after Parker, Brigham tried to regain his senses. As he did so, and in the confusion of chasing Parker, the bear suddenly ran back in and swatted Brigham on the arm, before turning to chase Parker once again. Parker only had a few yards to run to the primary cabin and had much more motivation than the bear to make it there as quickly as possible. Parker dashed through the front door and slammed it shut in the bear's face. With the bear distracted, Brigham was somehow able to close the door on the secondary cabin. Now isolated on the porch of the primary cabin, the bear paced back and forth for a few seconds before slumping onto the couch there. As the family watched it through the window, it glanced around as if pondering what to do next. Inside the cabin, Carol called 911 and reached out to neighbors to recruit help for her family. Shane noticed that the bear was looking away, so he took the opportunity to make a mad dash toward the second cabin that sheltered Brigham. Seeing Shane bolt from the door, the bear followed him in close pursuit. As soon as Shane leapt up the stairs, he raced inside the door and slammed it in the bear's face. With Shane and Brigham holed up in the secondary cabin and Carol and Parker holed up in the primary cabin, the bear meandered around the property. By this point, Arizona Fish and Game officers had been alerted by the 911 dispatcher and were already en route to the Hawkins cabins. Upon arriving, they began searching for the bear as it had fled the cabins. Less than 40 yards away from the cabins, the black bear was discovered and immediately dispatched by authorities. Now safe, Shane and Carol drove Brigham to the hospital, where he was treated for gashes to his face and arm, as well as injuries to his scalp. A round of rabies shots was administered as a precautionary step. He's expected to make a full recovery. Regarding the bear, its corpse was taken for analysis, which revealed it was a 3-year-old male. Tissue samples were taken for examination for rabies and other diseases. Following her son's attack, Carol stated that she believes the bear would have killed Brigham had Parker not distracted it. The Hawkins family expressed disappointment that the bear had been killed, but also acknowledged that its behavior was out of the norm for black bears. She commented that there are not many kids who can say they got into a fight with a bear and won, like Brigham did. If you would like to donate to Brigham's medical bills, I have posted a link in the video article below to a GoFundMe page from the Scary Bear Attacks community, and I've already made an initial contribution myself. Hopefully we can help the Hawkins family offset a portion of his treatment, and maybe he can get a gaming system or something cool out of it. As of June 2023, the state of Arizona is host to around 2,500 black bears. Brigham's attack is the 16th documented since 1990, with 2 of those being fatal to the human victim. After reviewing the facts surrounding this episode, I'm left with a few questions for you. Do you think the increase in attacks since 1990 is due to an increasing bear population in Arizona, or is there another reason? Would the bear have killed Brigham if his brother hadn't stepped in? Are you surprised that black bears can be anywhere in the state of Arizona? Will you make sure to close the door next time you're watching Pokemon videos on YouTube? I'm not sure what Pokemon is, but I know my door will be shut and locked. I will gladly read and reply to your thoughts, so please post them in the comments section below, and let's talk about it. Thank you for watching Scary Bear Attacks. If you've enjoyed this episode, please consider clicking on the like button and clicking on the bell icon. We'll help you know when we post our new episodes. Posting our video links to your social media profiles furthers awareness, and it's fun. We slashed our prices in our merch store, linked below, so check out the bargains there while you shop. As a member of our human community, remember to adventure bravely and be careful out there, especially in bear country.